Tina, my wife for a whole decade, was there, ready to drop some bombshells as soon as I walked in the door on Wednesday evening after work. She hit me with the classic "we need to talk" line, and man, that's the ominous beginning to a bunch of crazy conversations, at least according to what I'd read. Then she laid it out, insisting she was absolutely sure I knew she loved me and would never do anything to wreck our marriage. But, let me tell you, it didn't sound good. So I shot her a look and dropped the bomb. But she took this deep breath, and that's when I knew we were heading into some seriously bad territory. As I said, I love you and want to grow old with you. Things were about to get real shocking. But here's the kicker. I've made up my mind that I want to have a lover. I never saw that coming, and to say I didn't like it would be putting it mildly. So let me get this straight. You love me, don't want to mess up our relationship, but you're itching to get intimate with someone else? I shot back. That's putting it rather bluntly. I've met someone I want to be intimate with. They would just be an occasional thing, and I promise, I'll always be upfront with you about it. I'm convinced that my love for you is strong enough for this not to mess with my feelings for you. If you truly love me as intensely as you claim, you'll let me do this, because I genuinely feel like I need to, Tina said, smiling. Okay, I'm completely baffled why you think this is necessary, and I can't wrap my head around how you believe it won't mess us up. Have you and your lover already made secret plans or something? Just so you know, we're thinking about going away for the weekend. Next weekend, she added confidently. I've got a question for you, and I need you to be straight with me. How would you react if I made such a proposal to you? I could see the wheels turning, and I knew she would not give me a truthful answer because she would have gone through the roof at the mere suggestion of me doing something like that. I think I would be okay with it if you assured me that you would not let it affect us, Tina stated. Bullshit! You know full well that you would have gone ballistic at any mention of such a thing, I sneered. She was taken aback and said, I really didn't expect you to get angry with me. I thought that you would love me enough to let me do something that meant this much. Well, whatever you were smoking is definitely illegal. Did you think I would just tell you it was okay to go screw this guy? I suppose you expect me to sit home and wait for you while you spend the weekend screwing him? Maybe I didn't think everything through too well, Tina said. You think? Yes. I didn't stop to consider a few things, like maybe my feelings. If I say no to this, are you going to go through with it or not? I don't know. I didn't really think you would refuse me. You didn't really think things through too well. I'll tell you what. Give me a few days to think about this. We can sit down Sunday afternoon and discuss this after I have had some time to think about it. You kind of shocked me tonight. I went to our bedroom and began moving my things to the guest room. What are you doing? I don't really want to sleep in the same bed with you when you were obviously thinking more about someone else than you are me. I slammed the door after I was in the guest room. I didn't sleep much, but I did come up with a game plan. I also came to the conclusion that if she went through with this, we were finished. The next day I left the house of the usual time, but I never spoke a word to Tina. I called work and said that I needed the next 2 days for personal reasons. Then I went to work. I bought 3 voice-activated recorders. I put one close to the phone, one in the bedroom, and one in her car. I also found a phone tape recorder to tie into our phones and installed that. The next stop was the cell phone provider since my name was on her phone. I had no problem getting a copy of her phone charges, and while she was still at work, I checked into her email accounts. She had opened one which I didn't know about, but the password was easy. I found a treasure trove there. At least I found it that she hadn't done him yet. I set it up to forward any emails on that account to me without showing that it was doing it. The last thing for the day was a pair of GPS locators. These were quite small and easy to hide. I was going to put one in her billfold because she would surely keep her cash and credit cards with her. The other would go in her car. I had a busy day but had things lined up to be able to know what was going on with her. The only other thing I needed in that respect was to get her cell phone and see what messages might be on there. I hope to do that in the evening as well as plant the GPS devices. I checked her emails and found that she and James Williams have exchanged several emails. James Williams was a coworker, and I planned to shit on his life like he did mine. The emails made it plain that the next weekend was a go. What I said would make no difference. Friday, I went to a highly recommended divorce lawyer. I instructed him to kickstart the divorce proceedings, citing adultery as the cause. James Williams was named as the guy, and I was dead set on suing him. My lawyer assured me it would be a piece of cake if I had solid proof. Well, I laid it all out for him. Emails, phone records, and I even spilled the beans about the upcoming audio tapes. He was thrilled and promised to get the ball rolling right away. When Tina came home that evening, I ignored her and didn't even speak to her. When she was making supper, I walked out and went to a bar to eat and have a few beers. When I arrived home, she stood up and began to talk to me. I just walked past her, went into the guest room and slammed the door. The only chance she had of saving our marriage was to cancel her plans with James. But I didn't think that was going to happen. I ignored her the rest of the weekend until Sunday afternoon. I told her that it was time to talk, and we took seats in the kitchen. I went first. You might have surmised that I am not at all happy with your request. I have given it a lot of thought and can think of no way that I can be okay with this. James said that this would not affect our marriage, but as you can tell, it has already had a very bad effect on it. Well, I can see that you were very angry. If you had looked at it from my point of view, you might have been a little more receptive. I did try to look at it from your perspective, but I have seen no way any good could come from this. So my answer has to be no. How could you be so selfish if you love me? I am the selfish one. It seems to me that your desire to fuck someone else is the most selfish thing I have ever heard. What happens if I do this anyway? There will be some serious consequences for any sex outside of our marriage. We pledged the same exclusive vows a decade ago, and I get it. They said we were supposed to be exclusive. But you know what? This is just something I have to do. So I guess this chat is done. I got up and stormed out of the house. I grabbed my laptop, headed to a Wi-Fi spot, and started snooping on their emails. She was very angry and assured him that she was going no matter what. He told her that was good because he had already reserved room 125 at the Hilton in Kansas City for Friday and Saturday nights. I immediately reserved that room for Thursday night. They were making this way too easy. They were also planning a romantic date on Saturday evening. They were going for a nice dinner, some dancing, then hot sex. Tina told him that she bought some sexy new underwear just for their date. I got something to eat while I was watching them correspond. They were past my refusal and on to making plans for their weekend. Check-in time was 3 o'clock, so he was going to pick her up at 1 o'clock since it was a 2-hour drive, and they could be there as early as possible. I was surprised that he was going to pick her up at the house. I was going to have to see what I wanted to do there. I reserved a room for the weekend also. It was close enough to theirs to pick up all the signals. I got all the things I needed the next few days. I got a couple of small fiber optic HD video cameras. I planned on mounting them in the room on Thursday, so I would be all ready to record their weekend tryst. This would be perfect ammunition to go with my divorce filing. I totally ignored her the entire time, but Wednesday was the day of final reckoning for her. I would give her one last chance if she chose James. We were done. I asked her to sit at the table so we could talk for a minute. She didn't look happy, but she did. I began. Have you given any more thought to this? I have, and I still want to do it. I'm going to tell you one last time to reconsider. Please don't destroy our marriage, this gruesome guy. This is your last chance. And if you go ahead, you will pay a heavy price. I'm going with James on Friday afternoon, and I will be back Sunday afternoon. I hope we can get past this and go on. So you chose James over me. I guess that tells me all that I need to know. I stood up and walked out of the room when I got into the guest room. I slammed the door as usual. This time my marriage was done and somebody was going to pay. Thursday morning, I rolled into work and dropped the bomb on my boss, saying I needed the afternoon and the next day off. Naturally, he's curious, so I spilled the beans, telling him I'm in the final stages of divorcing Tina. He looks bummed, but assures me he's got my back, giving me the green light for all the time I need. I drove to KC on Thursday and checked into their room. I got all the devices put in place and checked them all to make sure everything was working fine. I wanted to have all the evidence I needed for the divorce. Then I was going to fuck with them. I used my laptop to make sure that all the cameras worked and were aimed correctly. I sat still long enough for them to shut off, then moved around to make sure they all came. Everything was perfect. Then I walked down the hall past the room. I would use that weekend to make sure it was in range again. It was okay. I drove back home and contemplated the end of my marriage. I had one more stop to make. I stopped at a gun store and bought a small can of pepper spray. I was going to use this to mess up their romantic date. When I got home, Tina was standing in the kitchen. She looked at me expectantly, and I just walked past her without a word. I slammed my door again. Tina came into my room and wanted to be friendly. I told her to save it for James because I didn't need a mercy fuck. I turned my back on her and then she left. I slept fitfully that night, but had everything in place to end this shit. Friday morning, I got up and left at the normal time and never said a word to her. I went to the lawyer's office and signed the papers. I told him I would have all the evidence by Monday and asked that she'd be served at work Monday afternoon. I also requested that they serve papers to James at the same time I was suing him for alienation of affection. I checked Tina's GPS and it appeared she was getting her hair done. I went into the house and opened her suitcase and found her sexy new underwear. They really were quite sexy. Too bad she wasn't doing this for me. I put on rubber gloves and took out the pepper spray. I sprayed the crotch of her panties and the cuffs of her bra with it, then put them back in the suitcase. This was going to be fun. I went to our bank and closed all our joint accounts and put all the cash in a new account. Then I canceled all the credit cards, which had both names on them. After a satisfying morning, I went home to say goodbye to my wife. It was 12:30, so I knew she would be getting ready for her new man when I entered my house. Tina was not to be seen, so I assumed she was upstairs getting ready. I walked up to her room and walked in. She stood there in some sexy underwear I'd given her once. She went to cover herself, but I told her not to be stupid as I had seen it before. She looked very good with a new hairdo, perfect makeup, and lingerie. I had to have my say. "Why? You sure look great. Too bad you don't make that much effort for me." "You know, it's not like that. I just want to make a good impression. As I said, you're much more concerned about what he thinks than you have been about me." "I'm sorry. I just wanted to feel sexy today." "Well, you were sexy. You knew that I loved you with all my heart. I know you love me." I walked to her and took her left hand in mine. I began slipping her rings off of her. "I said I loved you, but you broke my heart. I gave you this ring the day I married you. We said our vows and promised to forsake all others. That meant something to me. Obviously, not so much for you. I don't want the ring I gave you on your hand when you were stroking another guy's tool. The engagement ring was my mother's, so I will keep that for the same reason." I slipped both rings in my pocket and let her hand go. She looked stunned, but didn't argue with me. "I won't be here when he comes, but I don't want him to come into my house. You cannot fuck him here. If you do, I will castrate him and fix you so no man will ever look at you again. That's a promise. He cannot come into my house. Do you understand?" "Yes. I will not let him in." "That's good. I will be watching." "Why are you being like this?" "Because the love of my life has just trashed that love. I hope this weekend is worth the consequences. Goodbye, Tina." I turned and walked away from my soon-to-be ex-wife. She was hollering at me as I walked out, but I was done with her. I parked down the street so I could watch. I made sure I was parked where Tina could see me. If he went in the house, I was going to jail, but they would be hurting worse. Pretty soon his car drove up. He walked up to the door and rang the bell. Tina opened the door and came right out with her suitcase in hand. She sat it down and put her arms around his neck before giving him a long, deep kiss as he picked up her suitcase. She looked my way and gave me a smug grin. She sat right next to him in the car and gave me the smug look again as they drove past me. I flipped her off and the smug look disappeared. I went back to my house and changed all the locks and the garage door code. I grabbed the suitcase. I had already packed and drove to Casey. I checked in and went into my room and immediately set up my laptop. The camera pointing to the bottom of the bed showed Tina naked. There was obvious he'd already screwed her. It was also pretty clear that he hadn't lasted too long. He came out of the bathroom. He was naked and I had to laugh. He had a very small tool. Tina was accustomed to much more meat than this little guy could deliver. About that time, James walked to the bed by Tina. He was hard again and ready for another go at her. She smiled at him and opened her arms. I laughed when she reached for his little tool. He didn't have to take it easy because I would be surprised if she could even feel that little thing inside her. Wow. Did she make a lousy trade? This guy was pitiful. I could see a bit of frustration on her face as he rested. It did not appear like she was going to be very happy with the results of this weekend. She was going to come home frustrated, then get kicked out on her ass the next day. He was soon ready to go again, and he gave her another less than thrilling 4-minute session. He was already done 3 times, and she wasn't even close. This was going better than I'd ever hoped it might. I had to quit watching and went out for supper and a couple of drinks. I left everything recording to have all I might need for the lawyer, and also to rub her nose in what a loser she had picked. When I returned, he was asleep, and she was looking even more frustrated. This really was fun, after I got over the pain of losing my wife. I went to bed thinking about how much fun I was going to have messing with them tomorrow. I thought about some of the hot babes I had seen in the bar, and knew I would soon be free to pursue them. I fell asleep with a smile in my heart. There was no more anguish for me as my course was plotted, and I knew where I was going. I awoke refreshed and ready for some fun. I showered, then went out for a nice breakfast and picked up some snacks in case I could not get away later. I went back to my room and called the local florist. I ordered a bouquet for Tina. I had always given her one just like this on our anniversary since there would not be another anniversary. I wanted her to think about what she was jeopardizing. I asked for it to be delivered at 11 a.m. I hope my timing might be good, but it didn't matter. The timing was perfect. They got dressed and went out for a while. When they came back, they began making out. They were soon naked, and he had just mounted her. When there was a knock at the door, the florist delivered the flowers, and I could see a pensive look on Tina's face before she became angry. She got out her cell phone and dialed. My cell phone was soon ringing. I answered, and we had a short conversation. "Hello, how are you doing? Not worth a shit. My wife is out drilling some other guy while I sit here getting more angry every time I think about it." "Why do you ask? It's not like you give a shit." "Well, I just got a bouquet of flowers, just like you always get me for our anniversary." "I wanted to know what you were doing. I don't know how you could think I did that." "First off, you and your rocket scientist boyfriend kept me in the dark about where you were going. Secondly, if I had sent you flowers, they would have been ragweed, and the card would have read to my cheating cunt wife. That's not very nice, right? And you fucking little Jameses. Maybe they will give you some idea of what you are throwing away." I saw a very stunned look on her face as I turned my phone off. She was soon dialing again, but of course there was no answer. She tried a few more times then gave up. She told him what I had said, and he assured her that I would get over it. That was not going to happen until I was rid of the bitch. She wasn't in the mood for sex, but after a while, she began to give in. So I called for a pizza delivery and ordered Tina's favorite pizza. They arrived just as he was mounting her again. He was very angry and didn't want to pay, but the delivery guy verified the room number and his cell phone number. He threatened to call the police, so James gave in and paid. They decided to eat since they had paid for it after they enjoyed their lunch. They talked for a while, but James was soon after her again. Wife. When they started to get hot and heavy, I called the sandwich shop and ordered her favorite sandwich for delivery. He'd been fucking her for about a minute when the sandwich arrived. When Tina looked at the sandwich, she told him that I must have figured out where they were. James couldn't believe it, but she told him about my rocket scientist track and said that I had probably hacked into her new email where he had mentioned it had taken her a while, but she finally figured it out. She told him I was very smart, would have had little problem doing that. They decided to get dressed and go out for a while. She told him when they got back, they would clean up and get dressed for their romantic date. She promised to make it up to him tonight. They left, and I was laughing so hard I had tears streaming down my face. When they returned, they showered and got dressed. Tina put on her very sexy underwear and modeled it for him. James tried to jump her, but she said she wanted to go out on their date. I wondered how long it would take for her surprise to announce itself. She finished dressing and looked very good. I hoped my surprise would work because it was going to be a hoot if it did. They went out, and I sat back to await their return. They returned in about an hour, and Tina stripped as she ran into the bathroom and into the shower. She was in there for a long time, and when she emerged, her tits and crotch were bright red. They looked very painful, and it looked as if little Frankie wasn't getting any tonight. Tina was lying on the bed moaning when James tried to fondle her. She went ballistic, telling him she was in pain and not interested right now. She said there must have been something in her new lingerie that she was allergic to. Little did she know. I spent some time organizing all my videos and making DVDs for the lawyer and James's wife. When I had everything ready, I went to bed. My very successful day had me smiling again. It seemed that there was trouble in paradise, and I had caused it. Sunday morning, I got up and headed for home. Tina was going to be in for much more help when she got home. Then tomorrow it would all be over. When James dropped her off later that day, he didn't even carry her bag to the door. He just let her out. I was sitting on the couch watching a football game and didn't even acknowledge her arrival. She announced that she was home, and So she walked between me and the TV and gave me a sexy smile. "I thought you might be happy to see me. You are not dead." "What would give that idea? Do I look like I got stupid over the last few days?" "I know you did, but I didn't. I never thought you were stupid and did think that you loved me enough to get past this. Well, I loved you with all my heart, but that was in the past. You broke my heart when you went with him, even after I had repeatedly asked you not to. I told you how I felt, and that meant nothing to you. So as far as I was concerned, once you left with him, I didn't really care if you came back or not. I can't believe that you feel that way about me." "Well, believe it, because you fucked up big time. I don't know if there is any chance for us going forward. I will do anything to make it up to you. I realize now that I made a huge mistake. Is there anything I can do? You can drop down on your knees and eat my shit. You know I can't do that. I know you won't do that. So I guess that tells me how much your promise to do anything to save our marriage is worth. It's worth about as much as your promise to be faithful when we marry. I was thinking about you all the way home today. I really want to make love to you tonight. I need you. You need me? I don't think so. As far as making love to me tonight, there's not much chance. Did you have little Frankie? Use a condom every time he fucked you? You know he's married and I can't have children. Do you think you are the only one who's used the routine with you are now damaged goods as far as I am concerned? There is no way I would fuck you until you have a clean bill of health from a doctor. Also, I don't do seconds. I know he's clean, but you could use a condom if you don't think so. Right. I'm going to use a rubber to fuck my wife after she fucks some loser bareback all weekend. Fuck you. You chose little Frankie over me. I'm going out for a while. I really can't stomach looking at your cheating ass anymore tonight. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. I like the master bedroom better. And unlike you, I didn't do anything wrong. Can we talk about this? We can talk tomorrow after you get back from work. I really don't know what else there is to discuss. I walked out of the house and walked to a nearby bar and grill to get some supper and clear my head. Actually, my head was clear as I knew exactly what I was doing. I just wanted to get away from her. I don't really drink, so I just ate, then went for a long walk. When I got home, she was in my bed. I looked at her and told her to get the fuck out of my bed. This is our bed. I have just as much right to be here as you do. The fuck you do. You gave up that right when you fucked little Frankie. So you either get out of my bed, or I'll drag your sorry ass out of here and toss you in the street. She began crying and slowly left the room. I closed and locked the door behind her. I could hear her still crying as she walked down the hallway. In the morning, I completely ignored her. We each had breakfast, and she was leaving at her normal time. She turned and looked at me and told me that she loved me. I gave her a very scornful look, and that I had loved her too, making sure to emphasize the past tense. I saw tears starting as she turned and walked away. When she was gone, I began packing her things in garbage bags. I packed her stuff until I called James's wife, Tina. I asked her if she knew that her husband spent the weekend with my wife. She thought he had been away on business, so when I offered her copies of my evidence, she was very enthusiastic about the idea. I was stunned when she opened the door. She was absolutely stunning. I was at a loss for words and had to apologize to her. I blamed it on being stunned by her beauty, which of course, was the truth. We got down to business, and I explained what had occurred over the weekend. She was furious, and we decided she would accompany me to the lawyer's office and see if he would take her case. He indeed took her case and even gave us a discount. She began filling out the paperwork while I talked to him. I asked him if I needed to wait to serve James to protect Tina. He said as long as she signed the papers beforehand, she would be okay. Tina and I went out for lunch while they got her papers ready. After she signed, I took her home and went home to await Tina's call. I was supposed to call Tina that night to let her know how things went. My phone rang about 3 o'clock. She was not a happy camper. What the hell is this? What the hell is what? I just got divorce papers served on me, and James got papers about being sued for something. It all sounds pretty self-explanatory to me. I told you there would be consequences for your weekend. Apparently you didn't believe me. I didn't think you would do this. Maybe you should have listened to me rather than thinking about the bullshit that little James was filling your head with. I don't want to discuss this over the phone. I'll talk to you when you get back to my house. Then I just hung up on her. I took the garbage bags of her things and tossed them into the front yard, then awaited her return. She pulled into the driveway and flew into a rage. I was recording this, so I would be able to get a restraining order to keep her away from me. She was screaming incoherently, and spit was flying from her mouth as she raged at me. I remained calm and collected as she vented. They finally broke in and began our last conversation. If you want to talk, you need to settle down so we can talk. If not, I will put your things in your car and you can leave. I never thought you would do this to me. Do this to you, you stupid cunt. You did this to me and to us. I told you several times not to do this and even begged you not to destroy our marriage. You chose to destroy our marriage, so I would think I wasn't going to divorce you. You said you loved me. I did. I loved you more than anything, and you broke my heart as a reward. The obvious problem is that you didn't love me or respect me. I can't live with someone who has that low of an opinion of me. But I do love you. Bullshit. If you loved me, you would not have gone and drilled little James this weekend. Why do you keep calling him little James? I had video cameras in your room and recorded the entire weekend. It should be obvious why I call him little. The first time I saw his pathetic tool, I laughed until I cried. I wondered if you could even feel it inside you. I noticed that you weren't climaxing like you do when I drill. We don't drill, we make love. That's the biggest difference. I would agree with you that we truly made love. I would bet that you were going to miss that. Look at the bright side. Now you can fuck anybody you want. You can have a new guy every night. I don't want that. I want you, and only you. Let's go in and sit down for a few minutes. I'm sorry for talking so nasty to you, but I have a lot of anger right now. but please know I would never do you any physical harm. The same does not hold true for little James. We went in and sat at the kitchen table as we had so many times. It struck me harshly when I realized that this would be the last time we sat together like this. She began this time, and I willed myself to keep calm and not speak so badly to her. He wouldn't really hurt Frank, would you? Why not? He destroyed my naively happy marriage. I think you will have to pay even beyond my lawsuit in his divorce. He won't be getting a divorce. His wife understood about what we wanted to do and said that she would allow him to do it. He believed that that was just a ploy to make me look bad so he could get in your pants. I talked to his wife this morning and shared my evidence with her. He told her he was out of town on business. We are now sharing a lawyer. He even gave us a quantity discount. I wish you had been honest when I asked you what you would do if I wanted to fuck another woman. You know, you would have gone ballistic. He knew his wife would never go along with that. I don't believe you. He would never do something like that. Even now, you don't want to listen to my word. Exactly why you are now getting a divorce. However, I really don't care what you believe. When you call him later, you will find that he also got tossed out on his ear. So you are really kicking me out? I am. The night you told me about your plan, I went into the guest room to think I knew within an hour that I would divorce you. I spent Thursday buying the equipment I needed to gather my evidence and to hack into your email account. Friday, I went to the lawyer and began the divorce process. Why didn't you tell me you were going to divorce me? I would have stopped. I don't think you would have. It would just have made you angrier. I explained to you several times how I felt, but the decision had to be yours. You had to be the one to stop it, or you would have been mad at me forever. I noticed in your emails that what I said meant nothing to you, so I was sure I was doing the right thing. I didn't sign the papers until the next Friday when you were getting ready for your date. I can't believe that I was that stupid. Is there any chance that you could forgive me? Tina, I loved you so much that I might have been able to. Last night I gave you a last chance and you blew it, and I think I could possibly forgive you, but I would never trust you. I would be waiting every day for you to tell me you wanted to drill somebody else. I can't live like that. It's better we just finish it right now. She broke down and cried. I went on. Unlike you, I have given this a lot of thought, but I always come up with the same answer. I am going to divorce you, and I am going to destroy little James like he destroyed my marriage. You can call him before you leave and share a place or whatever. Don't try to use your credit cards. They have all been canceled. I left half the money in our checking account for you, but I took my name off of it. I will split our savings with you. You can keep your car, but you will have to make the payments on it. You can have all of your clothes and personal things also. Once you find a place to live, you can have as much furniture as you need. The house is mine. If I do sell it, I will split the proceeds with you. This is all spelled out in the divorce papers. If you want to fight it, I will use all the evidence that I have, and it will destroy you. I don't want to do that, but I will if I have to. I won't fight it. This is all my fault. I just wish I could take it back. Well, you know the difference between a cheating wife and a light bulb, don't you know? What is it? You can unscrew a light bulb. She didn't think it was very funny. I told her that it was time for her to go and let her out of my house. I put all her things in the car as she watched and cried. When it was packed, I opened the door for her, then handed her one last thing. It was her wedding ring, which I had flattened with a hammer. I told her that it was now just scrap gold, which should bring her a good price. I closed her door, then leaned in and kissed her on the forehead. I said my last words to her. Goodbye, my love. I turned and walked back to my lonely house. I didn't even watch her drive away. I couldn't have even if I'd wanted to. My eyes were filled with tears, and I cried for another hour until I was totally drained. It was time to consider my options. As I saw it, I had three. 1. I could crawl inside a bottle and drink myself into a stupor. I barely drink and don't like the morning after, so that was no good. 2. I could make everyone happy and kill myself. I would not give her the satisfaction of doing that. 3. I could stand up tall knowing I had done nothing wrong and move on with my life. One vast improvement would be the absence of Tina that brought a smile to my face. I stood up straight and still smiling, called Tina's number. We made plans for dinner that evening, and I knew I was on the way to being healed. We might end up being just friends, or maybe I could trade up because the vision of her still lingered in my mind. Second story, badly burned by a woman who was perfect throughout the relationship. I spent a year with my ex, and around the 5-month mark, she confessed that she had been in a relationship with another man when we began dating. She assured me she no longer loved him, had ended things with him, and felt compelled to be honest with me to avoid hurting me later on. Despite being against cheating, I decided to end the relationship, initially suspecting she might cheat on me too. There was no argument, and she respected my decision. We didn't communicate for about 2 weeks until she started pleading for another chance. She was beautiful, funny, and being with her felt effortless. So I decided to give it another shot. Months later, she mentioned going on a trip to a town where her ex lived, and I suspected she was meeting him. When I confronted her, she got angry. A side of her I had never seen before. We had never argued, and she was someone I envisioned a future with. A few days later, she broke up with me, disappointed by my accusation. I accepted the breakup, initiated no contact, hoping she would cool down. Within a week, she changed her profile picture and headed to images of her and her ex. My heart sank when I went online. She made the photos invisible to me despite being visible to others. I was devastated, but refrained from deleting or messaging her. I clung to denial, expecting her to explain and apologize. A part of me even wished she'd ask for reconciliation so I could reject her. Another week passed with no contact, and she unfriended and blocked me. Despite her actions, I struggled to let go due to the overwhelmingly positive aspects I knew about her. I find myself fantasizing about getting back together, although I understand it's not the right choice. I've never experienced such betrayal, and healing seems elusive. I maintain no contact, hoping she'll unblock me and offer an explanation. I acknowledge the wrongness of my feelings and understand the need to erase her from my memory. Yet I can't escape these thoughts. Third story intuition led me to catch my cheating BFF. Long story short, me at 28 and ex and 32 had a long-distance relationship after we met online and IRL. However, he moved abroad because there a new job opportunity. So that's why we became an LDR from the get-go. We were in a serious relationship that his mother was involved because we talked about marriage. We have had our ups and downs during our relationship, but lately downs because I felt he was pulling away and being all hot and cold. During this period, I started to have a bad feeling, and my intuition led me to reactivate my dating app, and he has updated his profile there. Instead of bringing it up, I tried to make us delete our profiles completely from that app as a couple's task activity, but he refused and said he doesn't use it and he forgot his password. I proceeded to say I have a bad feeling, and he went ballistic and angry and just clicked on me in the phone call and refused to answer my calls. After a while, he calmed down and we talked. A couple of days after that incident, I had such a bad gut feeling, and my intuition just made me contact a girl that was a common friend on social media. We texted and I asked who he was to her. She insisted on just being his friend. But after a while, she confessed that he talked to her as if he's single and stated he's single. She also confessed that she told him I have contacted her and he was attacking her and became angry at me and her. He called me names and said hurtful things to her about me. The girl told me everything and even shared screenshots and dates. So he has been cheating with her and promised her the same things in the talk. So similar to how he pursued me, talked about coming to meet the family and want her for marriage. Within a couple of minutes, he called me and sounded suppressed, angry, and irritated. Just asked me if I have some time to say. And it went back and forth because I asked him why he's calling and if he wanted to say something. He just stated, I've done crazy but never said what I did and just broke up with me. No explaining nothing and just short. During our relationship, there was no intentionally hurtful comments or hate from both of us. For him to block me after the call, instantly he blocked me on all social media. I'm still in shock but trying to heal. I didn't see this coming, thinking he must be mature because of his age. I guess I dodged a bullet in a person that wasn't ready. I still don't know why he reacted that way. Any thoughts to help me understand? Thanks for joining us on this chapter of Relation Tales. If you were moved by these stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't miss out on the upcoming emotional roller coaster of relationships. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to share more compelling tales with you.